All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday, filling in for one. Greg Ehrenberg's getting a little work done on that third leg here. I'm joined by Neil Orfield, the flannel god himself, as we have not 60, but 90 minutes tonight to talk about this rousing two-game slate. The chicanery, the shenanigans were out in force last night. Neil, did your bankroll survive last night's carnage?
My bankroll did survive last night. I mean, I didn't play all that much, so I think that helped. I'm trying to remember. No, I actually did well last night. I think last night I got ninth in the 20 max. So yeah, I made a few $100 last night.
Excellent. I did not. Lost a couple $100, called it a night. I had one last shot at a nice 10-leg parlay, and then Nasir Little got hurt. So it's like, I'm going to bed. Not worth it. Yeah, I had a lot of Kawhi Leonard. So that wasn't fun when he came back or did not come out at halftime.
It would have been cool if they had told us about that ahead of time.
Yeah, well, let's just use that as our talking point right now. It's a two-game slate, but let's focus on that because this is a back-to-back. This could be the first time in, unless I'm missing one, like 4 years he's played on a back-to-back. So basically what happened last night is the Clippers were up by 20 towards the end of the first quarter. Memphis came literally storming back, and ended up going up by 20 in the second quarter. And at that point, it was just like, not going to happen. Or they erased most of the advantage. They didn't quite get up 20. But at that point, you were just like, oh, they're not going to lose this one. And it made sense that Coach Tyronn Lue just didn't play Kawhi coming out of the break. I'm surprised he still had Westbrook and Zubac out there, but my guess is that had they been able to cut the lead, we would have seen Kawhi, because the whole point here is the Clippers really need to win to stay out of the play-in tournament. So right now they are tied for fifth with Golden State, and they're each 1.5 games out of the play-in tournament. Guess who's at the top of the play-in tournament? That's right, tonight's opponent, the New Orleans Pelicans. So the Pelicans could claw back a full game of that 1.5 separation tonight. So a lot of things going on, but I think this is what we're going to see the remainder of the year with a couple of the teams that they need wins. If they're getting just their ass kicked, they may just save people and marshal their forces for the next game. So a wrinkle I didn't see coming. I had 100% Kawhi on Yahoo, so I was not happy last night.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I actually don't know how much I had of Kawhi. I know I had some, but wasn't actually paying that close of attention to NBA last night. I forget exactly why, but yeah, it was not top of my mind yesterday. I wasn't watching any of the games yesterday, so I did not realize the dynamics of that decision, that it was just because they were down 20 and decided to go all in tonight. I appreciate it though. As a Timberwolves fan, I really do want the Pelicans to lose here. They are currently the 8 seed. The Timberwolves currently the 9 seed. Need the Pelicans to start losing some games.
Yeah, so we've got all sorts of stuff, and kind of expanding out through tonight. Well, first, let's thank everybody for coming on in. This is Saturday. We've got the Final Four going on right now. We're going to be on, as I mentioned, for an hour and a half tonight. We're going to talk about Bet365. If you guys missed out, they had the promo where you could bet $1 and get $365 in Bet365 credits. That's now down to 200, and I think that's going away. We said that 365 bonus was going away. I had been down in Florida for 2 weeks. By the time I got back up to Virginia, I missed it by one day, Neil. I missed it by one day because you can't sign up if you're not in the state. You can't sign up for it. So, but that is available in Virginia, Ohio, Colorado, and New Jersey. So it's only available in those 4 states, but that's an awesome deal. You make a bet for $1 and you get 200 in bet credits. So we'll see. Definitely sign up today. They may stretch it through tomorrow, but I don't think it'll be here next week. So just wanted to put that out there.
It kind of feels like they gave us a little warning by dropping it down from 365 to 200, like a reminder, hey, this isn't going to be here forever. Better take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Will it spur me into action? Why, yes. I just can't sign up for any of these things while we're on Zoom. It screws up all the geolocation stuff, so I can't get into any of my sportsbook. And I'm not going to try to do it on my phone. I'm an old. I can barely see the phone. I refuse to get reading glasses, so kind of a problem. But here we are. All right, let's look at the overarching picture here. Everybody tonight has playoff implications in the games, right? So you've got Dallas, who is trying They're half a game out of the play-in tournament. They're just, even with all their suckiness, they're 2 games out of being a top 2 team in the play-in tournament, which would mean they would only need to win 1 game and they'd have 2 shots to do it to get into the postseason. But they need to win. Miami, they're trying to stay above the play-in tournament cutoff line in the East. So they want to win tonight. Bam Adebayo is going to be out. We mentioned kind of where things are playing out there with the Clippers and the Pelicans. So should be some good games tonight. Let's jump off here with the first one. We do know that Bam Adebayo is out. We have Frankie Ntilikina is out. This will be the second game that Ntilikina has missed, and he's missed like 3 of the last 5 or something like that. Dallas plays tomorrow. So if somehow they're getting their ass kicked tonight, perhaps they pull Luka and Kyrie. This is in play on that one. And then Kyle Lowry is in. He missed the last game with the knee soreness, but he is going to be playing tonight. And with news that Bam Adebayo is out, that the point spread basically flipped 3 points there. So there we go. But take us through the Dallas side here. You've got Luka Doncic averaging about 1.6 fantasy points per minute. That goes up in his 350 or so minutes with Kyrie. Feels like he's the linchpin of everything here. How do you want to handle the guy with 10 more median projected fantasy points than anyone else in the player pool?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be playing some Luka. I don't think it's a smart fade if you're fading the guy who is, what is he really 10 point? Yeah, 9 points better than the next best projected player on the slate. Seems like a really smart play. It's obviously a tough matchup with Miami. He's not a great value in terms of point per dollar, but we only have 2 games here. So that kind of goes out the window to some extent. You just need raw points. And I think Luka is clearly the top source of raw points here, projected in for nearly 56 fantasy points. Again, not great point per dollar at 11,700, but obviously a strong play tonight. In terms of looking at boom bust tool, we're projecting for 38% ownership, 37% chance being optimal, 31% chance boom. So slight negative leverage there. I'm not jamming Luka into all of my lineups. Again, it is a tough matchup. Kyrie's there. Everybody's healthy for Dallas. So it's a really tough spot for Luka as far as Luka goes, which is why he's only projected for 56 instead of like 62 or what he otherwise would be in some matchups. But still very strong play. Kyrie, obviously the second highest projected player for the Mavs. Again, not a great value at 9,200. I'm actually surprised to see that he's getting 28% ownership. I was thinking maybe Kyrie will be a nice leverage spot, but it does not look like that's what we're projecting. We are projecting him for 28% ownership, 14% chance of booming, 24% chance of being optimal. So not really a strong leverage spot that I was kind of hoping for. You can play some Tim Hardaway Jr. if you really want to, projected for just over 22 fantasy points. He's all the way up at 5,600. Price doesn't really reflect what it should with Luka and Kyrie both being there, particularly in a matchup with Miami, I would say. But still, I think he's a fine play just because Tim Hardaway Jr. a little bit volatile. If he gets hot, I think he can put up some fantasy points. Projected for 14% ownership, though. So it's not like he's some great leverage spot either. It really is a tough team to really love anybody outside of, Luka, you can love him just because he is the highest projected play on the slate. But we got a little bit of positive leverage on THJ, 14% ownership, 15% chance of being optimal. So I guess Tim Hardaway Jr. is at least a little bit of positive leverage. One of those spots. Christian Wood, the minutes just not really there. The matchup as tough as it's going to be. Just 12 minutes in each of the past 2 games for Christian Wood. He was playing a little bit more before then. What do we have him projected for? We've got Christian Wood projected for 16. I don't know. There might be upside. We're only projecting him for 3% ownership. He's such a great fantasy point per dollar guy. I do think that he's an interesting play on a 2-game slate. Do you want to weigh in there? How do you feel about Christian Wood tonight?
Yeah, I actually think it helps him just a tiny bit that Bam Adebayo is not there, because I think that makes this is a trickle-down effect. That makes less reason for Dwight Powell to be on the court. Now, Powell should be starting tonight, but I'm guessing now he's only going to get his 6 to 8 minutes in the first and probably 6 to 8 minutes in the third. I think he's going to lose Powell. I think he's going to lose out on his second quarter rotation because they could use him a little bit more against Bam. I don't know exactly what Miami's going to do here, but we did see his Powell's projection minutes drop, because I looked at he had an awesome PRA wager if he was going to play 20 minutes. It was 7.5 on BetMGM today. So I wrote that up, but I said, if Bam is out, this is going to drop. And the PRA stayed the same, but our projection went from 12 to 7.2. So the books had it right the whole time, I guess. But these are just the little situations you got to think about, and we got to talk about with just 2 games. So that could open up the door there for Christian Wood. Of course, Christian Wood perpetually in the doghouse of Coach Jason Kidd, because Christian Wood plays, well, he doesn't play defense, and apparently that can be a problem. So if he gets the minutes, he does produce, and it comes down to that. So I've heard Adam say before, and Ben Ross of I don't want to do X because I have to get 2 things right. This, you just got to get 1 right. He just needs to get more minutes. It's not exactly like I need more. It's not like Danny Green or something like that. I need minutes, and I need him to go 3 for 5 from 3-point range, right? It's more like, no, if he gets some minutes, he'll be there. So I think he's okay to roll the dice on. I think Maxi Kleber is another interesting option. He is a little bit better of a defender than Dwight Powell. He is a better outside shooter than Powell, and he is probably just as good of a rebounder. So you're saying, well, why don't they play him over Powell? Well, they do a lot of the time, but he's been hurt. So he has been back. I think he's been back for 8 or 10 games at this point, but he missed a portion of the season there. So he is someone I think you can consider there. And then Hardy is the other guy I think you could always roll the dice on. That's the guy you're kind of hoping he gets hot from the field and maybe gets 10 field goal attempts instead of 6. But that's totally possible for him.
Yeah, he's a strong fantasy point per minute guy too. Nearly 1 fantasy point per minute for Jaden Hardy. So there are definitely multiple ways. If he gets hot, he can just spike an upside in terms of fantasy point per minute. There's also, maybe he gets in there and blowout run. Do you think Jaden Hardy would close the game and blowout run? It would seem like he should as a young guy. So I think there are outs there for Jaden Hardy as well. So yeah, I think Christian Wood, he's one of he doesn't project well because he has not been getting minutes, but just something goes a little sideways. He gets minutes. That he's going to put up, you don't know. You expect that he will put up fantasy points in those minutes. Typically he does. So I like Luka, Kyrie, THJ, Christian Wood, Jaden Hardy, Maxi Kleber. I think you could throw the dice at Reggie Bullock if you want to. Projected for just 6% ownership at 4,500. If he gets hot, could put up some fantasy points. We're projecting him for 34 minutes. So he's already on. We're already expecting Reggie Bullock to play a good number of minutes. So then, it's another situation where you just need one thing to go right. His shots are falling. He gets a couple extra rebounds. Reggie Bullock suddenly looks like a pretty solid fantasy play. So he's kind of an interesting play. I don't know if I'm going down to Josh Green. He's projected for 1% ownership. So I guess fine from that perspective. Nobody outside of Josh Green, Dwight Powell. I guess you could throw dart throws at them, but nobody else really great from Dallas.
Since Groundhog's Day, Reggie Bullock, let's call it, he has played 20 games, started the vast majority of them. How many times do you think he has more than 8 field goal attempts?
Wait, say that again.
8 or more field goal, more than 8 field goal attempts in his last 20 games. How many times for Reggie Bullock?
3.
4. Now, nice thing, most of his shots are from 3-point range.
Exactly.
So he's got that going for him.
And that's a 1 in 5 chance. What we're projecting him for 6% ownership. Of course, the shots also need to fall for that to really matter. But
he's in play. This is very similar to
it's a 2-game slate.
Yeah, it's like game 3 of a playoff series. Showdown style right now. We don't have the option. We had 13 games yesterday. We got a bunch tomorrow, but because the Final Four, they're only doing 2 tonight, and they only did 2 on Thursday. So we'll have to see. We got a question here from Andrew Martinez. Says, EMac for MLB, do you not like Gilbert as an SP1 or SP2 on DraftKings? Well, I've got the Spotlight Pitchers and Top Stacks article. I'm gonna drop that link into chat here for you, because I write that every single day of the week, and I put in a pitcher and a team stack for every slate. So there will always be an early game, almost always, unless it's a super early game, early, evening, late, and main. So yes, Gilbert did make the write-up today. Go check that out. And then tomorrow, Terry and I will be doing MLB Live before lock. So
nice.
Good times on Sunday. Good times on Sunday. We had one other question. All Rat with the super chat says, EMac, was there DFS jousting in the medieval times? Yes. At the very beginning of DFS, about 4 months into my DFS run, there was a site called Daily Joust. I won a $5,000 contest. That basically jump-started my bankroll, and I haven't looked back since. So technically, yes, there was jousting in the medieval times of DFS. Let's look over here to the Miami Heat. Perpetually, someone is always out for it.
We did get another super chat from Jose Morales. Yes. DK Tears.
Oh, I'm going to get those uploaded here. To fear, Jose. We will talk about that. Let's do some of our analysis because we got to buy some time here, and then we'll go a huge breakdown into DK Tears. I promise, because we're going to need to fill some time here. But take us here over to the Miami side. The interesting thing about Miami is over their last 10 games, where is my numbers? I'm going to go. It's in my article. Oh, there we go. They have allowed 112.9 points in regulation over the last 8 games. That's basically league average. So we like to think of, that's not a ton of points, but it's not like they're not the staunch defense that they were previously. Everybody's a couple years older than that. Everybody's always out. While they do play a nice solid team scheme with their defense, that's just the way Coach Eric Spoelstra does it. It's not a lockdown defense. So I wanted to call that out. But take us through the Heat here. Tyler Hero, very low salary. Shitty performances lately, but a very low salary.
Well, and everybody's asking about the center rotation for Miami. So I think we're expecting Cody Zeller to start for Miami. He is currently our top point per dollar play on the slate. It's just 2 games. He's projecting for 6.8x value though, which is not bad. We're projecting him for 21 fantasy points in just over 23 minutes. So Cody Zeller is just somebody who's, if you just run a crunch without adjusting anything, I got to 100% of Cody Zeller. I also got to 100% of Tyler Hero, as you alluded to. He's down to 6,400. We're projecting him for 36 minutes, 37 fantasy points, particularly with no Bam. Like Tyler Hero just looks incredible. So those two both look great. Couple questions about Omer Yurtseven. Yeah, we're projecting him to play 16 minutes tonight, put up 16 fantasy points. So he actually looks like a pretty strong option as well. We are expecting him to play with no Bam tonight. I think it's likely that he does. I don't see it any different than how we are projecting him. Jimmy Butler. Miami is, I think, probably the top source of players. If you just look in point per dollar, I think Miami is the player that the team that I'm getting the most of. With Jimmy Butler also down at 8,500, we're projecting him for 46 fantasy points with no Bam. Dallas, just a cake matchup for Miami. Dallas has a relatively tough matchup with Miami, although, as you say, they're giving up league average points, maybe not as tough as they had been earlier in the year, but I'd still say a relatively tough spot for Dallas. But on the other side, Miami has a pretty cake matchup with Dallas on the other side. So Jimmy Butler looks great. Tyler Hero looks great. Kevin Love looks like one of the best point per dollar options. We're expecting Kevin Love to play 21 minutes tonight. He hasn't been playing huge minutes, but we're projecting him for 21 minutes, a little over 21 fantasy points. And wouldn't shock me if Kevin Love sees, more minutes. We don't really know what to expect with Bam out here. It wouldn't shock me to see Kevin Love get up to 24, 25 minutes, in which case, as a fantasy point per minute guy, he's going to look incredible. So Kevin Love looks good. Cody Zeller looks good. Didn't get to any Max Strus, but I do think he is viable. We're projecting him for 26 minutes. He's another player who just shots are falling. He could put up some extra fantasy points at 4,400. He's in play. Got a little bit of Caleb Martin. Got some Gabe Vincent. We're expecting this to be a rotation where several players are playing, mid-teens to upper 20s, and then, of course, a few in the upper 30s minutes. So a lot of players you can take flyers on for Miami. Do you have anybody that you really love for Miami?
Well, I'm going to have to say Jimmy Butler, because Chad is now discussing how he may not be starting tonight because he's not in a couple projected starting lineups out there. Don't trust projected starting lineups for the NBA. It's not like baseball. They're not announcing their lineup cards 2.5 to 3 hours in advance. They now give them to us about 30 minutes in advance of tip-off, sometimes even an hour. But let's not go there unless you're going to cite it. Also, let's not put Reddit theories out there that Luka is only going to play one half. If Luka was going to play one half tonight, it would make sense for him to not even play tonight, and then they save him for the game tomorrow, because Wait for it. Dallas, not in the playoffs yet. Not in the playoffs yet. Not even in the play-in tournament yet. So they need to win. They really need to win both of these games. So let's not put foolishness in there, because then I got to go chase this shit down to see if it works, or whoever the hosts are or whatever. It just wastes time. Tonight, we have plenty of time to waste, which is why I'm giving you this very special message, because I'm not dropping the band hammer and other people will, like one Mr. Lindquist, the originator of Salty Tears.
We did get a request to talk about Eric's tears. Yes,
Jimmy Butler would be the key player that I'm intrigued by for Miami. He just has that sort of do everything in his game, and then he's going to have to pick up more of the secondary facilitation with Bam out. Probably helps his rebounding just a little bit as well, if not his overall efficiency at least, or fantasy points per minute. I mean, maybe not his efficiency, but that he's going to be kind of the key for me. He is. It's interesting because the other day I've written up Brandon Ingram as the featured play, like 4 of his last 6 games that he's played. I didn't make him the featured play of the DFS Building Blocks article today. He's in it. I didn't make him the featured play. But the last time I made him the featured play, I said, hey, he's the perfect pivot away from Kawhi and Jimmy Butler. Guess what? He's carrying a boatload of ownership, partly because of the 2-game slate, but now Butler's the better pivot away from him. Funny how things works, but DFS is so much about context there. But for me, number one is going to be Butler. I was kind of hoping Kyle Lowry would be out, because then there'd be a trickle-down effect with Vincent and Strus and, you know, their cast of thousands that they have there. We now have it in the front court, but there's no trust with what Coach Spoelstra is going to do with those guys. It's brave of us to project Omer Yurtseven for 16 minutes. I think it's correct. It's scary. If he played 8, would it surprise us?
No.
If he played 24, would it surprise us?
Extremely volatile there, which if he does not play minutes, then I think Kevin Love gets extra minutes and probably Cody Zeller as well. So are you going to set any rules for those 3, for Omer Yurtseven, Kevin Love, Cody Zeller?
No. For those, I'm not as worried about. I'm only making 40 lineups tonight, so I'm really not worried about it. The only rules I thought about doing tonight were to limit the New Orleans Pelicans wings to just 1 or maybe 2 of the 3 or 4. I don't want to get 3 of them. I don't even really want 2 of them. But when we're looking at guys that play closer to the basket and are stepping into additional minutes at a depressed price point, if I were to get 2 of them at that point, I wouldn't worry, because they have a better chance at rebounds, which add up quickly. The wings, maybe they get some assists, maybe they get some long rebounds. We need them to make shots. There's a bunch of them. The way the ball swings around so much around the perimeter, they can make an awesome pass, and then the next guy who gets it has a nice shot. He'll give it to a guy who's got a better shot, and you miss that fantasy opportunity. So for those guys, I'm not setting a rule, but I would consider it for them. On a 2-game slate, I'm not going to worry about it for these super cheapy guys. The other one, I guess, would be, when we get to talk about it now, would be Zubac and Plumlee. But even then, I'm not that worried about it. Zubac went off in his first rotation, and even in the first half. I think he almost had a double-double, if he didn't not quite a double-double in the first half. But Plumlee was still out there. Plumlee's a fully capable and solid player. So if there's anything that happens with Zubac, Plumlee could step into more minutes. So, and if I had both of them in the same lineup, I wouldn't stress too much about it, because I'm getting the 48 center minutes from those guys for sure. And there's a tiny chance, depending on what New Orleans does, that those guys could play together. Maybe, but then you've got Robert Covington working.
Right.
As well. But that was a long way of answering the Miami front court question. But I wanted to talk. We got time. I don't get to do a lot of analysis on these shows.
As you want. Yeah.
Always being the host. It's like, guys, I do all this. Am I as good as Adam?
We love your analysis. You can keep going if you want to, EMac.
Yeah. You love it because you're busy setting lineups and building out rules.
No, I'm just watching the XFL scoreboard.
There we go. All right. So anything else you want to hit on for our first game here?
Yeah, I think we've covered it pretty well, that Miami is the greatest source of value I think we have on the slate. Jimmy Butler looks incredible point per dollar. not incredible. He looks very good point per dollar. Tyler Harrell looks very good. Kevin Love looks very good. Cody Zeller looks very good. Outside of those guys, Max Strus looks fine. Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry. Is Kyle Lowry? Do we have confirmed his status? He's available.
He's available to play. So and that's about as good as it gets until we see a starting lineup. But I would suspect he's going to play because Miami is the one team that's not afraid to rule people out when they're not going to play. They'll rule them out early.
Yeah, it's I would say a high volatility spot for a lot of these guys. Outside of, we know what we're getting out of Butler and Harrow. I think those guys are very likely to play big minutes. Outside of those two, I would say it's a relatively high volatility spot. We don't really know what to make of the minutes. We did just get a starting lineup with Zeller in it, so that is good to see. Vincent, Harrow, Strus, Butler, Zeller. Thank you, Jacob, for sending me that.
But I thought Butler wasn't going to. I was just told Butler wasn't going to start.
We also got Luka starting. Luka, THJ, Bullock, and Powell. So that's again as expected. No big shock here for these starting lineups. Sorry to ruin.
And with the playoffs on the line, they're not going to screw around.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. Who knew that they want to play their best players with the playoffs on line? But yeah, nothing else really to add other than outside of Butler and Harrow, maybe Kevin Love to some extent. I think there's a good amount of minutes volatility with the center rotation in particular, the bigs rotation for Miami. We could see, bigger minutes for Kevin Love, Cody Zeller, Omer Yurtseven. We could see, we were expecting to see bigger minutes for those guys, but we could see, instead of Omer Yurtseven getting 16 minutes, Kevin Love picking up a few extra minutes, Cody Zeller playing more minutes than we're expecting. So as you said, there's no guarantee that Omer Yurtseven plays big minutes, but if he does play 16 minutes, and he could also play more than we're expecting, I think that he is in play. But yeah, nothing else really to add.
All right. I see some fun in chat. AUD says big sexy EMac. Hello. EMac, what are you puffing on? What am I puffing on? I don't know what that means, but I'm drinking a cold brew iced coffee that I make by the pitcher here, because this is a long show and I've been up for a long time today. So
you see, we just got Eric Gordon out.
That was kind of expected. That's perfect. We'll move on to that game next. I see who was it? Brandon Katz's body bag was, he said, the only way I know how to answer questions is the long way. Also true. But let's maneuver over here to our second game. In the meantime, I want to tell you guys, get 30 days of Stochastic Premium free by repping the Stochastic avatar. All you got to do is go to stochastic.com/avatar, download the Stochastic avatar, upload that onto your DFS site of choice, finish top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 people in it. That's not what ties. That's first, second, or third. Or you can have a 3-way tie for first. We would allow that as well because you'd technically be in the top 3. But check that out. You can get up to one of those per year, but it's an easy way to get 30 days of Stochastic Premium. We can't automatically know that you've won, so you do have to follow the rest of the rules, which is tweet at StochasticHOF and Stochastic_COM with the screenshot of the Stochastic avatar and your win, and we'll hook you up. We'll take care of you. And if you got any troubles with that, you can reach out to support at Stochastic or check or DM the other account. So Norman Powell is going to be started. That was kind of, we didn't know what was going to happen with Powell. So Eric Gordon, I can't remember exactly what happened last night because there were a lot of things going on, but I don't think he came back for the second half. So no surprise that he is out. Norman Powell has, I'm going to call up his game logs because I think he has not topped 27 minutes since returning from injury. He has played he missed almost a month, played the 29th. He played 24 minutes. On the 31st, he played 25 minutes. The 31st was yesterday. I would expect somewhere between, let's call it 20 and 26 tonight. If he's feeling good, yeah, he should see, he's proven he's capable of playing 26. Is he going to get up to his standard-ish 28, 30 or so minutes when Paul George is out? I don't think so tonight, but he is in play now. Let's go over here to this game. Let's jump into this one in earnest here. So rounding that out, Markieff Morris and the health and safety protocols. We mentioned Eric Gordon out with a sore hip. This is a back-to-back for the Clippers. They are tied with Golden State with the 5th best record. They are 1.5 games above the play-in tournament cutoff line. You know who's at the top of the play-in tournament? Mentioned that before. It is the New Orleans Pelicans. Oh boy, Pellies could gain up a whole game here against them and get up to that 5th spot. So this should be a spirited game for the Pelicans side. Obviously, Zion still out and no grand Theft Acevedo. I love that nickname. I love that nickname. But
I'd never heard that nickname before. EMac, have you run your tiers at all yet?
I have.
Okay, so we should go over that. I do want to address a couple things in chat first. Malakar said he loves his over 40s. You and me, his over 40s. I'm only 39, Malakar. I'm a young man. Despite
39 and holding, Neil. How many times have you turned 39?
That's funny. No, just once. Excited to turn 40 in July. And then Jacob Vintner says, Neil, who painted that picture on your wall, Walker Art Museum? Yeah, my wife painted that picture, which I didn't know until I picked it out and told her. I found it in our basement. I was like, I found this awesome painting. I want to put it on my wall. And she was like, I painted that at a wine and painting night. So she just spent probably not that much time painting that while drinking wine, but I think it's a great painting. So I love that. And he also added F a foot of snow here in Minnesota. Yeah, I was telling EMac before the show. I think that was before the show. I know they said it on the show.
Yes, it was.
I woke up at 6:30 a.m. to let my dog out this morning, planning to sleep in until like 9:30, catch up on some Z's. And then, of course, I look outside and had to go shovel a spot for my dog to poop. And by the time I was done shoveling, my heart was racing. I barely slept at all last night as a result. Man, that is the worst April Fool's joke that has ever been played on me. A foot of snow coming into, 10 inches. I'm exaggerating a little, but 10 inches of snow coming into April is pretty rough.
All right. Clippers starting lineup is Westy Powell, Leonard Batum, and Zubac. So that's more or less expected. Nicholas Batum has kind of gone into the starting lineup there with no Paul George. Back to our tiers question. Tier 1, pretty straightforward. Looks like Luka Doncic. There's just 3 people in tier 1 tonight, but he has a 10-point advantage over Ingram and the 13-point advantage over Leonard. Makes it easy. You want your pivot option there. I think going to Ingram over the other two would be a way to do it, but that is the raw points there. Jimmy Butler, number 1 in tier 2. Kyrie Irving is number 2. I'd probably lean with Jimmy Butler. That's another potential leverage spot for you. I like both of those guys a lot better than CJ McCollum, who's sort of taken a back seat to Brandon Ingram, even as the main facilitator of the offense. Russell Westbrook. Oh, here's a good one. Here's why we should be a little nervous about the Clippers, Neil. Over the last 10 games, the New Orleans Pelicans are within 1 point in defensive efficiency, meaning per points allowed per 100 possessions, of the Bucks, the Grizzlies, the Celtics, and I can't remember the other team. They're 5th. They're only 1 point behind them. Their defense has tightened up like nobody's business. So that makes me a little concerned about the Clippers. So I would say chalky Doncic, chalky Jimmy Butler. I think Tyler Hero stands out in tier 2. He's got a 10-point jump over Trey Murphy. Tier 3 is where it gets fun. If you want to roll the dice, I think it's Christian Wood. If you want to play it safe, I think it's Zubac. Those would be the two. The only two I consider. We now know with who's starting for the Heat. Bones Highland is probably. He could get there, but he could also disappoint his coach and not get a lot of minutes because he doesn't play defense. I would take tier 5. I would take Kevin Love. We have Norman Powell a little bit ahead of him, but I don't know what Powell's minutes are going to be.
Did you notice that Kevin Love is not starting? This is a good point to interject. You did notice. Okay.
Yes. And I'm okay with that. Without Bam, I think I'm not surprised Love is not starting. They've played around a little bit with their front court there. He has started several games for the Heat. Actually, he has started all the games he has played for the Heat. This will be the first time he has not started. But I like him a little bit better in tier 5. And then tier 6, Maxi Kleber. Maxi Kleber is my guy. That's a hard stance.
Nailed it.
Caleb Martin is the point per dollar or the raw points guy, but I think Kleber is the better option. So that would be Doncic, Butler, Hero, either Christian Wood or Zubac, probably Zubac, Kevin Love, because otherwise I'm picking everybody from this game, and then Kleber. Hopefully that got the tiers questions good for you guys.
So I got to say that did surprise me. That caught me off guard. I didn't even notice that Kevin Love wasn't starting because he's been starting. Now they're missing their starting center and they're putting him on the bench. I would assume that Kevin Love plays extra minutes, and maybe he does off the bench now. But it's interesting to me that he's not starting when they have Bam out. Potentially
looking to stagger him a little bit so they have some front court scoring when just a little off kilter rather than putting him out there now. That would be my main guess.
Yeah.
Another one. Olrat, how much McCollum do you guys both have? I haven't run those lineups yet, but we will let you know. But Neil, take us through the Clippers here. So resetting the stage, no Monty Morris, no Eric Gordon. This is an important game for both teams. They're directly adjacent to each other in the standings. The Pellies in the play-in tournament, the Clippers just outside the play-in tournament. What do you got here for the Clips?
Yeah, it's an interesting spot with, Norman Powell just looks incredible point per dollar. I think Norman Powell becomes, I guess he's still number 2 in the point per dollar rankings, but he looks great. Projecting for 31 fantasy points at 4,600. Norman Powell now looks like an absolute smash for the Clippers. Suddenly a lot of people look a little bit better. I think Zubats looks pretty good. I'm interested in Zubats in this spot. Kawhi, I'm not letting it scare me off that he sat in the second half last night. I think you gave a good explanation of why that was. I think this is a game where they're going to go all out to try to win this game. They have no Paul George, so I think Kawhi is the guy. So I like Kawhi quite a bit, even though he doesn't project nearly as well as like Luka or several players. He's projected for just 42 fantasy points at 10,000. I think the ceiling is unlimited though for Kawhi in a spot where they need to win with no Paul George. It would not be surprising to see Kawhi just get all the usage in this spot. So I like Kawhi quite a bit. I think Russell Westbrook, similarly, just going to pick up a little bit of extra usage with no Paul George. He's 8,700, not a great point per dollar play, but projected for just 12% ownership. So I do think that Kawhi is interesting. Actually, I think they're both, Kawhi projects for just 16% ownership. I'm going to try to be on top of that. Russell Westbrook, 12%. I'm going to try and be on top of that. I think those are both relatively low for a 2-game slate. They're both guys who can spike an upside. Powell is going to be chalky. He probably should be chalky at 4,600. He's going to have to be really off to not pay off this $4,600 price tag tonight. Zubats doesn't project incredibly well point per dollar, but I think the upside is there. After those, I'll play some Terrence Mann with no Eric Gordon, even though he's not starting. Terrence Mann at 5,000, just somebody who can spike an upside. Project for just 1% ownership. I'm guessing that's going to change a little bit, but sort of interesting. Batum, we have now up to 28 minutes in our projections. I think we only had him projected for like 23 or so earlier in the day. So we're expecting him to pick up a few extra minutes with no Eric Gordon. We're projecting Batum for just under 20 fantasy points. So again, not a great point per dollar play at 4,700, but somebody who's going to be my player pool. And then I actually like the call out of Mason Plumlee, another player who doesn't project well at all for us. We're projecting for 16 minutes, just over 15 fantasy points at 4,400. But Mason Plumlee is a solid point per dollar guy, similar to what we were talking about earlier. He's a 1.11 fantasy point per minute guy. All you need is one thing to go right, which is he gets more minutes, which can happen with Zubats getting in foul trouble, Zubats getting hurt, a blowout. There are a lot of ways for Mason Plumlee. I don't know if he would play in a blowout necessarily, but there are a lot of ways for Mason Plumlee to pick up some extra minutes, and he's just 4,400. And even if he doesn't pick up extra minutes, he'll play enough that he could get pay off his price tag. So I do like Mason Plumlee a bit. Robert Covington, always love playing some Rocco. Projected for just 15 minutes, 13 fantasy points, but I think there's some upside on top of that at 4,100. So a little bit of interest there, but primary interest, I would say Norm Powell, Kawhi, and Westbrook for large field GPPs, I think are pretty nice contrarian options. I think Zubats is kind of interesting, Mason Plumlee. And then after those guys, I think Terrence Mann, a pretty nice GPP option as well. Do you see it any differently?
No, I'm reluctantly, I will be going with the Storm and Norman Powell at this point. I think that's going to be the way to go. It might be worth, if you're making more than 20 or more lineups, I might reserve a couple to put in Bones Highland and not Powell, or potentially not Powell and go with Terrence Mann, just in case Powell re-aggravates something, gets in foul trouble, just isn't feeling it since he missed almost a month, and this is a back-to-back for him. But otherwise it looks pretty good. Transitioning over to the Pelly side here, we got 20 minutes to go here, and then we're going to be on for another 30 minutes. We're going to talk a little BetPro and the Bet365 offer that is sitting out there for you guys. If you sign up right now for Bet365, wager $1, you will get $200 in Bet365 credits. That is only if you are in Virginia, New Jersey, Colorado, and Ohio. So check that out. And as always, if you or someone else has a sports wagering issue, please do not be afraid to call 1-800-GAMBLER. And the standard age for wagering in most states is 18 years or older. The CJ McCollum, I ran an unencumbered crunch, 10 lineups. I got him in 3. We're projecting him with the ownership projection that just refreshed for 50% in tournaments. I also got 100% of Zeller. So when you run those things unencumbered, you're going to get stuff like that. So as soon as I start tamping down some of those cheap guys, it won't go as well towards the Kawhi Leonards, etc., and it'll start trying to pick up CJ McCollum. My worry in CJ McCollum, he's a great player. Brandon Ingram is doing everything. CJ McCollum has more than 40 fantasy points or more just twice in his last 9 games. Ingram is like ripping off triple doubles at this point. And he's got a great nickname, the Slender Man. You ever see him? He's so damn skinny out there. But he's literally doing everything right now. So that makes me a little nervous. Could CJ have a great game? Yeah, he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. He can absolutely pile up the points, but he's basically getting no rebounds. In his last 3 games, he has 2 total rebounds.
It's not great.
Neil, he only has 2 more rebounds than you and I do over his last 3 games.
That is not great.
No.
I'm looking at what is Valanciunas. I want to see. So he played just 25 minutes against Denver. Did he lose a rotation there? I'm looking that up now.
If I remember correctly, Brandon Ingram ended up getting Larry Nance Jr. Sorry, Larry Nance Jr. I think that was the game where he popped off for like 20 some minutes. Are you good? Yeah, I can pull it up if you don't have it.
No, that was a game. Looks like Larry Nance played 23 minutes in that game. Okay.
So Nance had been playing in the mid to upper teens. I don't know exactly what happened in that particular game, but the impressive thing, and sort of to tie it all back together to their defensive efficiency, the last 10 games, they're the 4th best or 5th best team with the allowing points per 100 possessions, up there with the elite units. That's with the boatload of Jonas Valanciunas, Joe Val, on the court. You know, Coach Willie Green can't be too mad at him, can he? At this point, and he's a much better offensive player and rebounder than Larry Nance Jr. Larry Nance Sr., well, he was better than both because he could dunk 2 basketballs.
Yeah, he was so good. It does look like I don't think Joval did lose a rotation to blowout run. I think it was just that Larry Nance Jr. was playing so well that he lost a rotation, because it looks like, Trey Murphy closed out the game. Brandon Ingram played until there was like 1 minute left or so. So I don't think it was due to a blowout there in Denver. Kind of interesting. I was thinking, because I'm thinking J-Val is another player, great point per dollar player. He, for a little while there, was starting to play big minutes pretty consistently. Now the past couple games he's played 25 and 22 against Denver and Golden State. So I'm thinking Denver seems like a spot where you would expect J-Val to play a little bit more against Jokic. And this is one of those spots tonight where I would expect him to pick up bigger minutes against Zubats and Plumlee, but I don't think it's a guaranteed thing. So I'm debating whether I want to bump up my J-Val at all, because if you do just bump him up to, and we're projecting for 28 and a half minutes, put him in there for 31 minutes, we'd have J-Val at 38 fantasy points, just under 38 and a half at 7,600. So I think he's kind of an interesting spot. Do you have any strong opinion on J-Val tonight?
I'm going to earmark 1/3 of my lineups for him, specifically if he does not come in naturally. I have now had to remove Norman Powell because he is in 92% of my lineups, and I just can't have that.
You've removed
I liked
him?
your.
What do you mean by that?
Pardon?
What do you mean by you removed him?
Good question, because I got to catch part of your show where you were demonstrating how to use Fantasy Cruncher. You know what's the hardest thing to answer for anybody via chat? I've just got Fantasy Cruncher. How do I use it? Well, let me tell you, there's about 17,000 different ways you can do it. It's a little tricky. So I agree with what Terry and Alex and Josh and all those guys do, and Adam, that crunch out, and Greg and Lindy that crunch out gazillions of lineups. They put them through their sorting process. They get what they want and they want to put it in.
Yep.
I play it a little bit more like you do. Could I do all that? Yeah, I live and breathe in Excel all day. You know what I don't want to do when I'm not doing day job stuff? Living and breathing in Excel all day. So this feels to me like, I'm still kind of handling it. So I'll set a points cap or a points floor. Like tonight on DK, I said, I don't want any lineups more than 200 or with less than 250 points.
Okay.
Well, what that does is, even if I say crunch a million lineups, it's going to stop as soon as it can't build anymore. the point per dollar guys are going to just be through the roof.
Yep.
And so it's putting in Norman Powell in all of them. So I have built out 25 of my 40 lineups that I'm playing tonight. I've got Joe Val in 6. So I have taken Powell out. I won't build any more lineups with Powell, but I'm now bumping up Bones Highland and Terrence Mann just to do something different. So I will probably crunch half of those with Bones Highland, half of them with Terrence Mann, just to be different. And then I'll goose Joe Val to get him in most of those lineups. And then that will be my 40 lineups for tonight. But that's just one of the many ways you can use Fantasy Cruncher. Fantasy Cruncher will do what you tell it to. If it doesn't build out as many lineups as you want, it's because you've put too many constraints. Right. But if you don't look at the lineups that are at the bottom, it'll build you shit lineups because you said you wanted shit lineups, right? It's going to do exactly what you tell it to. So that's the important thing to go there.
Gotcha.
$70 million man. Where do we go to renew our Fred Van Elite fan club memberships? Well, I should have worn this shirt, but here we go. There's
you told me it's too hot for flannel. It's a perfect day to wear a jersey.
It is, but I don't really wear jerseys, and I've still got the tag on it. But Rimpack gave that to me.
What a guy!
Very nice. All right, that was sort of my take on the Pellies. Do you want to hit anything important on the Pellies, and then we'll take questions for 13 minutes, and then we'll be on for another 30 minutes talking sports wager.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, as far as the Pelicans go, man, I've already been messing with their projections a little bit. So let me see. So yeah, we've got J-Val projected not all that great, to be honest. I wasn't getting much. I gave him a little bit of a boost just because I know he's another guy who can spike an upside. So I have him in around 40% of my lineups now. I'll probably do at least one more crunch. But I do think J-Val is an interesting player who doesn't project extremely well, but I like him a little bit better than the projection just because I think the upside is there if he does pick up the minutes. Ingram looks like a fine point per dollar play, projecting for around 45 fantasy points at 9,500. He's not like a super strong play, but he's or point per dollar play, but he's Brandon Ingram. He's one of the highest projections on the entire slate. If you get to Brandon Ingram, I don't mind that one bit. CJ McCollum, yeah, I was getting to a ton before I brought it down a little bit. We're projecting for over 37.5 fantasy points at 7,500. I brought it down. So I was getting like 70% CJ McCollum. I brought him down to 37 fantasy point projection. I'm probably going to end up with CJ McCollum in about a third of my lineups, I would guess. Getting to a bit of Herbert Jones. We're projecting for over 30 minutes, 23 fantasy points at 4,900. He looks fine. Josh Richardson, I think, looks fine. We're projecting for 21 minutes, 17 fantasy points. Larry Nance, now that's another tough one. He's only 3,700. We just saw him have that spike game in terms of minutes. Another strong point per dollar guy who, if he gets the minutes, 23 and 25 the last 2 games. I'm sort of interested. I don't think I have any. I guess I already have 9% Larry Nance. The field's projected for around 13% Larry Nance. I think I'm actually going to give him just a little bit of a boost because I think he's interesting now that he's getting minutes again. Larry Nance, strong point per dollar producer. I'm not going to set a rule there with Nance and Valanciunas. Maybe I should. It's a 2-game slate. I don't tend to set a lot of rules on 2-game slates just because, Larry Nance could put up at 3,700. He could put up 14 and be optimal on a 2-game slate. Like that could be all you need from him. So I think I'm going to not set that rule with Nance and Valanciunas. Najee Marshall, doesn't look great, but projected for around 15 fantasy points at 3,600. He's in play. I didn't get to any shares of Trey Murphy in my initial run. I think I'm going to up him a little bit. How do you feel about Trey Murphy?
Got a little more than I wanted. No, I guess not. 7 of my 40 lineups. That's acceptable.
Okay. Yeah.
I only got 1 Christian Wood, but I've got 15 Maxi Kleber. I think trying to go to Jovel. I've got him in a third, and I got Cody Zeller in 70% of my lineups. That's burning up the center in the utility spot. It just makes it a little tougher to get to Christian Wood, even though he does have. They did take away his power forward eligibility there on DraftKings. He may not have had it for a while. I haven't played. It's been a long time since I've even considered playing him, but there we are.
Yeah, I guess we can't check what his positionality was in Fantasy Cruncher.
I'm sure Greg would have a way of doing that because he's crafty.
I'm sure he would too. Yeah.
But I am not that crafty. Or Greg would probably just remember because he also seems to have a pretty good memory on these things. So my apologies since I am my dog's coming in the room. She's going to finish up the show with us here.
Nice.
Although I think we tied enough frame that you guys can't see the door open, but she's now trying to come under the desk because she's assuming there must be food there. So
Is there? What do you leave down there for?
Well, technically, I was eating some Thai food before we went on air, which is probably not the most drunken noodles, a little spicy, going with my iced coffee. I
would
wouldn't
not
want to
risk
be
that before a show.
Yeah. How would you like to do it on air? So, yeah, that was some savvy planning ahead on that. Okay. So, not all right. Show dog. You guys can see her real quick since she wants out, and I can actually catch her. There she is.
There. What's her name?
Jovi, as in John Bon Jovi.
Nice.
But spelled with an E because my wife said that would make it more girly. She just celebrated her 12th birthday. So not my wife, the dog.
Thank God. About to make
my future third wife may have just turned 12. But
oh no.
That's like the worst joke out there. I'm probably gonna get canceled for that.
Yeah. I've already canceled you.
That would mean I will meet them in 20 years. So there will still be a 30-year age gap.
I get it. I get what you're trying to say.
Yes. All right. I'm going to upload my lineups here. We got 8 minutes to go. EMac being silly today. It's been a long day. Also, Melissa, yes, I did have to clarify that. Yeah, Melissa's always on top of things here.
Yeah.
If I need a lawyer, you're a lawyer, but Melissa also a lawyer. So.
I didn't know Melissa was a lawyer. Also, you don't come to me if you need a lawyer because I've never actually practiced. I did research stuff as a lawyer previously.
All right. Ooh, I was just able to enter. I can build out 5 more lineups. I'm going to make those Christian Wood lineups, and then we are uploading.
Beautiful.
Why am I making Christian Wood lineups? Why not? Why not? There are my 7. Oh, it only let me make 2. It doesn't like Christian Wood's projection.
Man, this is Defenders Guardians. 40 points scored in the first half. You don't understand how insane that is for an XFL game, EMac.
They done one of those double passes again, or just that one time in the entire league?
I don't know. I can't tell you if I've seen. I think I've seen it at least once this year.
It was pretty awesome. I will say, caught me off guard. I didn't know that was allowed, but clearly it is. All right, I'm almost uploaded. Are your lineups uploaded?
Yeah, I've done a run. I don't know if I'll change anything else going here. Man, I have 50% Kawhi. I'll keep it. The only reason I'm thinking about changing is I am allowing 6 players from a team currently, and even on a 2-game slate, I don't know if I actually want any lineups like that, and I'm seeing if I have any. I think I'm good.
I have 20% Kawhi.
That's a reasonable sense. 20% Kawhi is fine.
Not very much Kawhi.
Yeah. As I say, I'm playing 50% Kawhi. I do take bigger risks, larger stands when I'm playing like 22 lineups tonight. So it's easier to take those stands and, not feel like you're setting yourself to light money on fire when you don't have all that much money in play. I would have a lot less than 50% if I were maxing out tonight.
I need to deselect one lineup. Sorry. Overloaded Miami Heat lineup with only Maxi Kleber on the other side. He did not make the cut. Eric Gordon is out. Yes, that is not new.
El Quattro Loco says DC ain't defending shit. Yeah, and the Guardians are not guarding shit. This is supposed to be a big defensive battle between the Guardians and the Defenders, and neither of them are living up to their namesake.
The Galaxy is in flux right now, is what you're saying.
That's right.
All right. Hit save, hit upload, and not to fair chat because we're going to be on for another 36 minutes. All right. I'm all uploaded there. 47 lineups tonight. Would you play Kyrie over Luka Doncic?
Are we talking tiers?
Just in theory.
Like
if only one of them were going to have a good game.
I mean, clearly Luka has the better odds of having a good game. He's also going to come in. We've got him projected for 50% ownership and Kyrie at 28. So, I mean, yeah, I'll have some lineups that have Kyrie and not Luka in them in a large field GPP. I would not take a lineup and pivot directly from Luka to Kyrie and leave 2,500 on the table. I'll say that.
That is a better way of answering my convoluted question. All right. How much Butler is too much Butler? I have 76% of him. I've got 76% of Hero and 76% of Cody Zeller. Can you tell where I set my player cap?
In Philadelphia?
Yes, indeed. The city of brotherly love. And technically it's 76.6. It'd be better if it was 17.76, but it is what it is. Bones Highland is in as many lineups for me as Kawhi Leonard. Can you guys go over your most explosive players at the positions? Absolutely. So 47 lineups for me. And we're both playing just DK tonight, correct? You're not doing it.
Yep, I am.
So Hero is 77, Doncic 55, McCollum 46. Crept up there on me. What do you got for point guard?
Hero 91, McCollum 45, Doncic 32.
All right. Shooting guard is a lot of multi-position eligibility, but Hero, Powell, Strus are my top three.
Powell in 21 out of 22, Hero in 20 out of 22, and then drop all the way down to Trey Murphy III now in 8 out of 22.
I've got him in 21%. I've got Irving in 21%. As I mentioned, Jimmy Butler 77, Norman Powell. I checked him, so he got to go back into those last 7 lineups I made. I've got him at 60%, and then Brandon Ingram at 31%. I'm actually under the field on Brandon Ingram, and I love Brandon.
Ooh, I only have 2 Brandon Ingram lineups. I'm probably not going to change it at this point, but I guess I'm taking stance here. I've got Norman Powell in 95%, Jimmy Butler 73, Kawhi in 50%.
All right, rounding it out to the power forward, Maxi Kleba 47, Kevin Love 21, Kawhi double position eligibility. He's on 19, and then Herb Jones is in 17.
I got Kawhi in 50%, Batum in 18%, Kevin Love in 18%.
I have 1 Batum lineup. Cody Zeller 77, Kleba power forward. We already talked about him. Joe Val 30%, Zubac 25%, Yurtseven 17%.
Zeller, I still haven't. I actually cut his projection way back, and I still have Zeller in 73% of my lineups. J Val in 36%, Zubats in 32%.
Yep. So you can kind of see Neil's going a little more Kawhi. I'm going a little more Butler. That's sort of where we're making the pivot. What was your Brandon Ingram?
I have him in just 2 lineups out of 22.
So that's our pivot away from the field.
Yep.
Slender man. Very sad. Very sad. Let's see. Perhaps we should build some prop cards with Brandon Ingram so we can have some fun on that.
Good idea.
We got 2 minutes to go. I'm not seeing any breaking news. I think I've got all of the super chat, so we can let's shift on over here to the BetPro. We're going to kind of do double duty here. So you guys can sign up with Bet365. Bet at $1, get 200 in bet credits immediately if you are in Virginia, Ohio, Colorado, and New Jersey. And then you can utilize BetPro. So BetPro, effective yesterday, now has NBA and MLB.
Oh, I didn't know it came
live.
out. Hell yeah.
It's working. There was a little touch and go there on day one. They said, it's kind of working, but we got some – the feeds, once they're real, is different than trying to get them from spring training and blah, blah, blah. So sure. I think that's my technical term. Usually they don't have me on the tech calls, but I could sort this out for them real quick. But yes, blah, 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 technical stuff, but it's up there now. So on BetPro, you get all the main sports books plus Prize Picks plus what's that other site called? No House Advantage versus the House Contest. You get those. You get about 7 or 8 there. So it's a lot of fun. So for NBA and for now for MLB, it updates for the sports books. It's scraping them or getting their APIs every 2, 3, or 4 minutes. And then every time Stochastic updates projections, that goes in as well. So when there's NBA news, it's happening all the time. MLB, well, we're not going to update MLB because it's not as crazy and things are not always changing once the lineups are out there. So you may say, oh my God, is it stale? It's like, no, as soon as we update these models, they go through into those. So it's going to be the most current information we have, but it does help you call out the bets that have the best expected value, because not all bets are created equal. It also points out which bets are the best at the different sites. There's one tab that aggregates everything. So if you're play on multiple sports books or these forced parlay card sites, it tells you where the best numbers are. If you don't have sports wagering, this still works for you for No House Advantage and for Underdog and for Prize Picks. So you guys can check that out. Look, here's a free one for Prize Picks. Sign up through the link below us in the chat, even though they're not a sponsor, they are of this direct show. They're a friend of the program. So I want to point out that if you sign up there through the link, you get 30-day subscription for Stochastic and 2, a deposit match up to $100. So while not as good as the Bet365 bet, that's a quick way to get $100, and those funds come out of your account first. So you guys want to check that stuff out. Am I having pizza again tonight, or am I going over to the Brandon Katz barbecue? We're not having. Are we cooking Brandon Katz at the steak? Maybe I'm in for that one. Barbecue? No, thank you. I may need some ice cream on top of the coffee and the Thai food to settle things down. It's probably not a good call to do that either, but that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. I think I'll be sleeping in the guest bedroom, Neil. I don't know.
Oh, no. But having one of those nights.
Yes. What did you have? You don't have sports wagering yet in Minnesota.
We do not. We can do NHA. We can do prize picks. We cannot do sports betting.
Okay. So this is a helpful tool for you. So the one nice thing out there is this does have a track record of a 2.2% ROI. Now people will be like, oh, 2.2% ROI, that's nothing. Well, that's like what you get in your savings account for a whole year. This is like whatever you put in, the ROI is for that instance. So yes, could you go negative? Yeah, there are no certainties in life, but this one does give you a pretty good advantage. And even if you say, oh, I want the upside of GPPs, build out some parlays. I've done a couple tonight where I'm picking like 4 favorites in hockey, either with the goal line or with the money line. And I've got a booster on that. And I've made my own little GPP that has like a 34% chance of cashing, and it's going to be 6x. I'll take that. 1 in 3 chance to get 6 times my money. Yeah, totally worth it. So that's what you can do with sports wagering. It's a math game, right? You got to think about all these different ways you can make it work for you. But BetPro that's not doing the team wagering stuff, but that's doing all the individual player props, which you can parlay to your heart's content. And get a lot of good stuff out there. So that is one thing I really like with the old BetPro. So I'm going to call that up to do. Producer Jacob, do you have BetPro access yourself? Okay, we'll have him call that up as well, and then I'll kind of say where I'm navigating. So I'm going to the BetPro NBA. And up at the top, there are some instructions here that talk about the different codes and things that we have available. So, I thought there were. The how to use this page. It's now at the bottom. That's a good spot for it. But you click on that, it'll take you down to the bottom. It points out if players are highlighted in different colors, like somebody's in pink, that either means they are questionable or someone on their team is questionable, and it could impact their goals. So let's just say today, Bam Adebayo, his Jimmy Butler's rebound prop was probably pink, meaning if Bam Adebayo is out, if teammate is out, jump on this bet immediately. If teammate is in, this probably isn't as good of a wager. So that's gives you the little clue there. It talks about the win expectancy, EV, expected value. It's your old pal. EV is entertainment value, because, oh boy, I bring the entertainment value, Neil. Right. And it tells you also how you can size your bets. This one's a little trickier, but it's based on the Kelly criterion, which tells you what is the best or the optimal amount of your bankroll to wager. An easier way to think of it is if you bet $5 every time on every bet, if someone says, oh, this is a 2-unit bet, you would bet $10. Oh, this is a half unit, you would bet $2.50. So this will tell you, hey, on this one, it's pretty good. Bet 7% or bet, $7 instead of the $5. So that one's pretty interesting. Oh, dear God. What did
you
Mike
just get a picture from Mike Lawrence in the shower?
I just got a picture of Mike Lawrence. It says, just so you guys don't think I'm lying about having a beer in the shower and listening to the show, we have a selfie of Mike.
A little bit too much showing there.
In the shower. Well, his wife might say not enough. His wife might say not enough.
Oh, no.
But Mike is naked in the shower, drinking a beer, listening to the show. And he's got his camera. I don't know this is the OnlyFans thing. I think he's confused. This is Stochastic.
Maybe he's filming his OnlyFans right now while he's listening to us. I don't know.
I don't.
But cheers, Mike.
Yes, my iced coffee, which is now melted ice. In that water. Aerosmith's favorite color. I don't know.
Scott Tradamus says, "Come play XFL if anyone is bored." I agree, except there's no like in-game XFL as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong. I've never checked actually for in-game XFL showdown. I don't think there is either.
I play all the games, and now DK's doing crowns for esports. So I'm back in the Madden streets again. Hey, if you guys are playing Madden, for the love of God, play 2 tight ends. The tight ends are the best scorers in there. Put one in your flex. Don't play wide receivers.
Where do you track like how you're doing in Madden? Like, can you watch the game somewhere?
So during the pandemic, this was actually a product they were gathering and going to do. And then during the pandemic, they hadn't quite flushed it out and gotten approved. And then we launched our own version of this during the pandemic. Unbeknownst to us, they were doing it actually for real with Madden. We did it with basketball because it was basketball season. But they run the games. And for the longest time, all through the pandemic, they had 2 people announcing it. So Greg announced some of those. I don't think Gundacker did. Matt LaMarca was announcing on those. A couple of the other people.
And was this on the Stochastic YouTube channel?
No, this is on the DK YouTube
channel.
DK,
okay, yeah.
So they show the games now. They don't have commentators. They just have, and I don't watch them, but they just have whatever the video announcer voices are.
Darth Gator would like you to shut your smart mouth, EMac. You're giving away too much info.
There we go. So I am correct. Yeah. And so I learned how to play this during the pandemic and figured out a bunch of little tricks because that was the only show in town. And so they weren't doing it for money at that point. They were just doing free rolls as they were working out the kinks of trying to figure out live scoring and all of that stuff. So it was a good time. Now I just play it when they give the crowns back. So that's what I'm doing there. Drop the OnlyFans link in chat for our good buddy Mike Lawrence. No, I'll let him take care of it.
Sotek says, I think you guys should do a live stream from your showers. We will, as long as we get Manscaped back as a sponsor at some point.
Yes. Those that were around in the when I was back on Rotor Grinders, I used to call Saturday night bath night. Because back in the olden times, Saturday night was bath night. Basically, you would bathe once a week, you'd take your bath, and then you go to church on Sunday, right? So the Saturday night was bath night.
Like in your 20s, you're talking about.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, it'd be in the early days, back in 2013. This was 10 years ago, a long time ago. So I always said if I ever made it to a live final, I would broadcast a show with Mr. Bubbles, and I would be in the bathtub. Nice. I sadly did not make it to a live finals, but that was Saturday night is bath night. But that's a callback. It was a long time ago. That's back. Me and Justin Van Zuden, STL Cards.
Oh yeah.
Dean Shavelson, Dean 7890210. If you want to get all technical, yeah. So a lot of the old head chopper.
I exclusively used Rotor Grinders until like the day I discovered Stochastic on YouTube. It was awesome at the time. Immediately I was like, these guys are speaking my language, and I switched over. That's a good point. Yeah, there are many ways you can play daily fantasy sports, and most of the sites that are still around these days do offer pretty good and reasonable stuff. And this is far from the wild west days of 2013 when you didn't even know who was going to be starting. For basketball, you had no idea. People they didn't quite do the load management as much, but they also didn't have injury reporting. Twitter barely existed at that point. We didn't know who was starting for MLB. You could go to some like message boards and people would type in what they'd see on the local broadcast as the starting lineup. That's how savvy this was. Yeah.
But yeah, those were good times. But this is all about saving time. So
those are the times we were in with XFL, by the way. It's like you check Twitter for like who's starting at quarterback tonight sometimes.
Yeah, that's where we are with Call of Duty right now. That's where we are with Madden. It's like it was in the old days. So it's all about saving time. And that's why, we talk a lot about stuff here at Stochastic, but everything's saving time, right? You want to have a subscription. What can't you get more of? You can't buy more time. You can't create more time. Well, you can use your time more wisely. Let other people do the research. Don't wait for us to put the ownership on the screen or talk about whatever it is you're looking for. You can get that stuff here with us. So we do have, this is all going into the last minute. This is to celebrate the return of Major League Baseball. This offer goes away tomorrow, but you can get 50% off a monthly Stochastic Platinum subscription with the promo code MLB is back. This is good for anybody, existing members, new members, whatever it is. The promo code MLB is back. This expires tomorrow night, but that gets you 50% off. You're going to love it. Saves you so much time having Stochastic in your back pocket. And you get to hear us talk about the different ways to use the tools, right? And I subscribe to various other sites here. Most of us in the industry do, because we want to see what is being offered by our competitors. What is it that people like? Are we covering the things that are interest people? And things have kind of branched out a little bit. ETR is really the football side. Roto-Grinders, they're just an institution. They were the originators. We've carved out our little niche here into some mass multi-entry, but we subscribe to using a lot of the tools that are now replicated on the other sites. But Alex was there first with the boom bust and high level probabilities. And you're going to start seeing more sites coming up with sims. That's basically what the boom bust is doing for you. But the other sites I know are working on that sort of thing to have those available. Things are always evolving, but find your edge. This is, if you were going to go golfing, you'd probably pay for golf lessons or go to the driving range. If you're going to go fishing, you got to buy fishing equipment. That's what these subscriptions are, right? It's just so you can have more fun doing what you're doing. So yeah, I subscribe to a few different sites.
I do too. Kofab says, I'm ready to switch from RG to Stochastic as soon as Stochastic gets an app with Cruncher to upload from phone. Any idea when that is coming? I'm not aware that we're building an app for using Cruncher, but I build for my phone all the time because I use Slate Swaptimizer for DraftKings in particular. FanDuel has made it more difficult over time. I used to be able to do both sites pretty easily, but DraftKings I can pretty easily if you use Slate Swaptimizer. It's actually not
so FanDuel just mucked up their landing page. I was talking to someone who was doing this. So I have to do everything on the computer. I can't do anything on phone. But most of our site is optimized for phone. Fantasy Cruncher also optimized for phone. You can get our stuff. You can download it. You just have to know how to save the file and then upload the file. But you can do it all from your phone or from your iPad. There are ways to do it, and sort of like what Neil is saying, it does work. Both sites are optimized for it. You may not be able to do that with the Fantasy Cruncher add-on here. That may not be optimized for the phone, but directly from Fantasy Cruncher, because when they have us sell their product, it's a slight few less of the bells and whistles. Still get you more than you're ever going to use.
I use it through the
there you go.
So, on my phone.
We'll talk to Neil. Why are you trying to talk? Guys, who's asked? Why am I talking? Neil.
The problem is I don't know how to, I would maybe try to do tutorial on my phone, but I don't know how to record on my phone. I know how to do these things on my computer. I'm sure I could learn pretty easily, but maybe someday I'll do
there's a way in Zoom, and there's a setting in your phone that you can actually, I forget what the setting's called, but basically you broadcast it and Zoom will pick it up, and then just like your screen sharing on your show earlier today, you can screen share with your phone.
Yeah, James Perkins says, so it's looking like playoff Butler. I have not checked how things are going yet.
Well, we should, because we have 16 more minutes. We've talked about how amazing BetPro is. We've talked about Bet365. We've talked about, 7-4. Butler has 4 points.
No Gabe Vincent, no cash.
Does Gabe Vincent have a steal?
He's got 2 rebounds.
2 rebounds for Gabe Vincent and 3 points.
Nobody's really doing much to start the game.
We're 2 minutes in.
I know. So we know exactly how it's going to go the rest of the night.
Dwight Powell is halfway to his PRA in 2 minutes. He's 1 for 1 with the rebound. Damn it. I should have played him. I was trying to find a first half PRA bet. I don't think the site's degen that much yet. They will.
Sad.
They will. Price picks, you can get fourth quarter and second half PRA bets. I just couldn't find it for the first quarter. So very sad. Yes. People were asking, a bunch of shows tomorrow. We've got the MLB Live Before Lock for them. Let's see what time the games start tomorrow. Are they? I wonder if they're doing. I haven't even looked at the Sunday schedule to see if they're doing that wonky 11:30 game like they did last season. Nope. Slate's going to start at 1:10 tomorrow. Last year they did that special 11:35 game, and then what did they broadcast it on Peacock or something? And then they didn't start any of the other games till 1:35. It was awesome, but it doesn't look like they're doing that anymore. There's one 1:10 game, and then everything else is at 1:35. And then we do have live before lock NBA tomorrow. That is going 90 minutes because it's a 9-game slate. That slate tips off at 6, I believe. So I think we're going on there at 4:30. That'll be kind of different. We haven't done that in a while.
I take it you're not on that one.
I am on that one.
Oh, you are on that one. You and Eric.
Special guest because Lindy has a lot of Lindy snookered him. I'm going to let the secret out. They thought he had double duty for Lindy's leans, likes, and locks for MLB and NBA. There's no NBA on Monday because of the national championship game, but they've already filled his slot. So I'll say that now. But if they had known, if somebody had thought ahead, I didn't want to be the one to say it when they were trying to find coverage for him. I got you, Lindy. He's still going to have to cover 12 baseball games.
Nick Harris says, I really wanted to play Powell, but nobody ever answered me. I guess I should say negative stuff to get responses. Yeah, I didn't play any Powell.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't either. So we did talk about that kind of from the jump, and I had said he was my PRA recommended wager. It was at 7.5, and we had him for just over 12. But once Bam Adebayo was out, I felt that Powell likely was only going to get his 6 to 8 minutes in the first quarter and 6 to 8 minutes in the third quarter, and probably give way to Kleber or potentially Christian Wood for more offensive options now that Bam's not out there and they don't really need him against Yurtseven, or maybe he'll mark some of Yurtseven minutes or Sellers minutes. But I didn't. But even Sellers more mobile, so it kind of puts Powell out. And they need more mobile guys there. The reason Powell plays is they can't run Kleber into the ground because he's been too hurt, and Wood just doesn't. His defense is garbage. That's the only reasons that Powell is playing. So you got to kind of understand the rotations and things. So yeah, he may look great right now. I will be shocked if he plays more than 14 and a half minutes tonight.
I like that specificity, 14 and a half.
I went back and forth on that wager. I had to come at it from a bunch of different. Again, that's in the DFS building blocks article. Do the wager of the day. There was only 2 games. The wagerings that were positive EV were very limited this morning. So,
Luka now
you got to dive into some of this stuff. But even if we look at Powell, last game 11 minutes, 6.5 fantasy points. 2 games ago, 12 minutes, 6.5 fantasy points. Game before that, he did start 4 minutes, no fantasy points. So he's got 13 fantasy points in his last 3 games. Before that, Charlotte, oh my God, he's so awesome. Charlotte sucks with their bigs. He scored 24 fantasy points. Guess what game he had the 0? Charlotte as well. So even when you have the perfect matchup, it's very dangerous to play someone like Powell. So when we got Zeller, immediately he's a better play than Powell. Yep. Hell, Yurtseven is a better play than Powell. So yes. Oh, Nick, yeah. Oh no, and we just wanted to give you the reasons behind, right? Because had we not gotten Zeller, we would be talking more about Powell. If Bam Adebayo was playing, we would have spent 5 minutes going over the nuances of why do we want to risk Dwight Powell, and if he gets 20 minutes and scores 15 fantasy points, he could make the optimal lineup. Oh, 2-game slates.
THJ 3 threes. Is that true? Like he's already hit them, or you're predicting it? Yeah, he's up to 3 3-pointers for THJ already. Damn. Did I play any THJ? I talked about him as somebody who I thought was an interesting play. I got him in 9% of my lineups. Okay, I'm below the field there.
I want to see. Oh, computer, don't freeze on me. So Tim Hardaway Sr.
Yeah, Zeller only 1 rebound in 4.5 minutes.
So this is there. the revenge for his father, Jane, because his dad played 5 years for the Heat.
Whose dad?
Tim Hardaway Sr., Tim Hardaway Jr.
Oh, yeah. He played 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the prodigal son returns, right? That's why he's showing out today.
Why didn't we talk about that on the show, EMac?
Well, I mean, and the fact that he was in the Eastern Conference for the first half of his career, played in Miami all the time.
Yeah.
Let's set that aside. Did we miss out on birthdays? Let's look at this NBA birthday.
Oh, no. It's Omer Yurtseven's birthday. He's going to get extra minutes.
It is Brooke and Robin Lopez's birthday. Mitchell Robinson's birthday. They are the April Fools. Did you know my mom's driver's ed teacher? My mom turns the big 8-0 this year. My mom's driver's ed teacher was Robin and Brooke Lopez's grandfather.
I did not know that. You'd be shocked to learn. I did not have that.
I'm not going to get to say that much more. They're not going to be in the league that much longer. They've been in the league like 14 years.
That's a fun fact. That is a fun fact.
It is. And their mom was a classmate of my mom in California at their school, Reedley High School, for anybody wondering. San Joaquin Valley. All right. We have 8 minutes to go. Throw in some questions in here. Oh, I hear Discord. I've got a Discord tab somewhere. Let's see. I'm not as good as Greg at getting the Discord questions.
He's good. He's good at going over to Discord. EMac, I'm currently
trying to turn on the notifications, but I hear it beeping, and then I can never find the channel that it's in.
I'm currently winning the Saturday only XFL slate by less than 1 fantasy point. About 3/4 of the way through. Not an 86-yard touchdown. That is going to change that. Jordan Teamu to Chris Blair for 86 yards. I will not be leading that contest anymore.
So James Mouse, like, do I get points because YouTube chat is the one I even pop it up in its own little window and I can see it and I can enlarge it so my old eyes can see it. If I'm trying to look at my phone and I've got look, I have the noise or the notification suppression on, so no wonder I'm not getting any notifications right now. Oops, I just thought nothing was happening. I better turn that back on, but I was walking and I didn't like all the notifications I was getting. So there we go. All right. Did you do a Viper stack?
It's actually a Guardian stack. I've got Quentin Dormady at quarterback for that one. Yeah, I just lost it. I had the lead 3/4 of the way through and then an 86-yard touchdown. Go figure. It's going to knock me back a bit.
Do I have anything good? My hand-built Call of Duty lineups. Oh, XFL Showdown. I'm in second.
Are you really?
It is not a large buy-in.
Okay.
Oh, but I have a unique in second. I'm 1.1 points behind first. I have, who did you say you have? Quint Dormady?
I had Quentin Dormady. Yeah.
He's got 44 points if you have him in the captain spot. Only 8% people played him in the captain.
I am also in second place in the largest field contest.
Do you have 112.59 points?
I have 113.79.
Oh, so we probably have a very close lineup.
Yeah. Butler 5 for 5 field goals. Nice.
Favorite captain for UConn versus Miami.
I could not name a single player from either of those teams.
Well, let me see if
I do have them in the I'm in a Dapper, so like NBA Top Shot's parent company, I guess. I am somehow still a VIP for NBA Top Shot because I burned so much money there in years past. I'm still a VIP there, so I am currently in. I could get as good as third in that contest if UConn wins their next game and then loses in the championship.
Okay. So I listened to Matt Gajewski's article or podcast. If you skip towards the back half of it, you can listen to it in 10 minutes. He breaks it down. So he said the three key players for Miami were going to be Miller, Wong, and I'm assuming it's Omier. I believe he said Miller was the guy he liked the best, but I know it was not Wong. But he breaks down how they've tightened up their rotation, as has UConn, as compared to the first game, the game that's going on right now, where both teams are running 9-man rotations. But both these teams are both down to like 5-6-man rotations, essentially. So he was breaking out who was running the wind sprints and then who was actually getting the usage. But he liked Miami a tiny bit better, I believe. But that's available over on the Odd Shopper YouTube channel, I listened to it on the Odd Shopper podcast when I was out walking today. So you guys can get that. You can get most of our shows on the various Stochastic podcast networks. Remember, we do have the Odd Shop. That's our new show that is Monday through Friday on the Odd Shopper YouTube channel at 4:00. An hour of sports wagering, gives you a lot of advice on how to do different things, use all the different tools. Even if you're just catching part of that as you're driving home or whatever, it's worthwhile just to understand how to use all the different tools we have between BetPro and the Odd Shopper separate tool, and how to find value and what to do when somebody's scratched immediately and how long you have. You have like 45 seconds or less to go over to the sites and try to make bets that are impacted by somebody being out. Don't bet on them, because if they don't play, it's not going to count. But somebody else is going to have their numbers go up. You try to take the overs on other people. So check that stuff out. Would you guys talk about the next basketball game for Showdown? Yes, we can absolutely do that for you. We've got 4 minutes left, but I will happily do that. Let me just upload the projections real quick, Neil. So if you have anything you want to say
about the Showdown. Okay, so I have not thought about it at all for Showdown, but let me look at it real quick.
Or if you want to say anything while I take a moment to go upload this, so we don't have dead air.
Kurt Benkert, I'm really hoping that for a swift recovery for Kurt Benkert. I don't believe Jawan Pass is an XFL capable quarterback, so I really need Kurt Benkert to come back. I don't really love Cone as an option either, so I'll say that. I'm really hoping for a quick recovery for Kurt Benkert, San Antonio Brahmas quarterback. Looked like he had maybe a broken rib today. I don't know what it was exactly, but got hurt late in the game. Was hurt several times during the game. But I think he's going to be okay. I really hope he is, because I believe Jawan Pass is the worst professional quarterback I've ever seen. And yes, professional does include the XFL. It's a professional league. Thank you very much. So I'll say that to start. What else can I say?
I've got it. I'm good.
Okay. Good.
So if we're looking for cheapies, it's always a good spot to start. I think Robert Covington is an interesting option at 4,200. We have him for just 12 fantasy points, but you play him and don't play Zubac on that lineup and hope that it ends up being a Larry Nance Jr. game somehow, and that Covington goes out to mark him instead of Plumlee. That I think is an interesting spot. In turn, you could play Larry Nance. You put those two guys in and then build anything else you want. Go chalky, take the expensive guys, go with Leonard, Westbrook, Ingram. I would lean a little more towards the New Orleans side here. I wouldn't force it to go 4-2, but I'd want at least two of my three expensive players to be the New Orleans Pelicans. That's mainly because their defense has been so good. As I mentioned, over the last 10 games, they're fourth or fifth in the league. They're only behind the Bucks and Boston and Memphis. So I think those are our key players. I like to find the second or third best play to make them be your captain, to try to find a little differentiation. Most people will probably go, I would guess, with Kawhi or Brandon Ingram. Maybe you go with Valanciunas to be different if you're playing the larger field contests, and hoping he gets the double-double bonus. And he's someone that doesn't get a lot of blocks and steals. For example, in his last 6 games, he has 2 blocks and 4 steals. So he averages about 1.3 combined per game. That's not very much for a center. So you're really hoping he's getting the double-double bonus, which is basically worth an extra block, right? That's what you're kind of going for. But I think I would stay away from Westbrook. I just think the defense is going to – I just don't think this is a good Westbrook game. Yeah, those would be my thoughts. I don't think we have. It's not a big enough slate. We do projections when we get to the playoffs, or when we get to the 2-game playoffs. We'll do showdown ownership projections. We don't for these smaller games. There's just not, the contests just aren't big enough to put all the time in to do it. But I would suspect Kawhi is going to be the top option tonight. Hopefully that helps.
Nice.
That XFL talk, MLB. Oh, that reminds me, guys. If you guys want a little MLB on the I think it fell off the front page, but yeah, we'll drop the link in for you. If you shocker of shockers, if you go to the MLB tab and click MLB homepage, this will be up front and center, but it is the free DFS Buildings Blocks article. There's a 3-game late slate. I do break down why I think Gilbert's the best pitcher. And I think I went with San Diego. I believe that was who I said was the best stack. I do want to point out they are going against Julio Urena. Jose Urena. I want to point out that last year, I'm going from memory, but you can read in the article, of his 20 starts, only 4 times did he allow more than 4 runs. In those games, though, he averaged 7 or 7.5 runs allowed. It's because he's a ground ball pitcher. So when things go sideways, it gets ugly. But he also lives with a lot of 1, 2, and 3 earned run games because 50% of his balls get 50% ground ball rate. 2 years ago, I want to say he had like 30 starts. I think it was 7 starts where he allowed more than 4 earned runs. And in that season, he averaged 6.5 in those games. So just understand the stacking and how it works, and when pitchers implode, how are they going to? He does have a higher fly ball rate, or home run to fly ball rate, but that's because there's so few fly balls, more of them are home runs. That number looks elevated. You still need to understand that half the balls are going straight into the ground. Hopefully that helps. I like talking baseball.
I know you do.
Tomorrow will be my first baseball show.
Oh, will it? You're on Live Before Lock. Who are you doing that with?
Terry.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be a good show.
Oh, we're getting into the weeds.
Yeah, you and Terry. How long is that? I hope they booked 3 hours for you two.
we have hijacked our shows before. Tyler and Jordan, I think, both have just walked away and done other things while we rambled, even before we did these bonus half hours. So
that'll be an interesting show for the people who really want to get into the weeds with the players. I'm like a remove the names, look at the numbers type of MLB player. I think you and Terry are the most you know the stats you're going to dive into.
Baseball's a math game, right? In playing 150 lineups, and we'll sign off because now we've reached 8 o'clock, so we'll let everybody go about their merry way. But the thing to remember about baseball is it's an event-based sport. The variance, the randomness is just dialed up to 11. It is out of control, but when you are able to build a bunch of different lineups, you can hit on those winning combinations.
Yeah.
You can also lose your money faster if you don't know how to do it correctly, but it gives you a chance to catch that lightning in the bottle. Or it's like Josh Engelman like to say, you get a lineup that broke free.
Yep.
You can do that in baseball, and you can do that in hockey. You can't do that in any of the other sports. No, it doesn't work with much frequency. Even golf, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Like that. But the second pitcher I would go with, people are going to go with Clayton Kershaw. I'd actually go with Michael Wacha. So there's go with Wacha and the San Diego stack, and go with Gilbert. If you wanted a secondary stack, a lot of people are going to take the righties against Madison Bumgarner. I want to see what the lineup is. I want Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor is batting 5th. It looks like he's going to be on about a third of the lineups in the 3-game late slate. I think that I would play him in most of my lineups. He has third base and outfield eligibility, but he is excellent against lefties. Bumgarner's another guy, allows a lot of hits, doesn't get many base runners, or a lot of hard hits his last 2 years, doesn't have many base runners, so he can survive. Right? He's the crafty lefty. How old do you think? Let's wrap this up. How old do you think Madison Bumgarner is?
39.
I think he's 34.
Do you mean the baseball player or his girlfriend?
They're both probably the
ex-girlfriend, I guess. I think. I don't think he actually married her or like stayed with her.
No, they were dating, and I think they lived in a town named Madison or some stupid thing like that.
That's dumb.
Bumgarner is, drum roll, please, 33.
Oh, wow. I was way off. I feel like he's been around forever.
Doesn't. Well, he was a rookie in 2000. He made 10 innings in 2009 when he was 19 years old.
Okay.
He made 18 starts in 2010 when that was his age 20 season. So yeah, he's been in the league for 14 years. So we're going to leave it with that. There we go. You can follow Neil on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I am at EMac DFS. It is Stochastic_COM. Tomorrow we got the NBA Strategy Show. We got the MLB Live Before Block. We've got NBA Live Before Lock. We've got you covered. No MMA this weekend. I believe NASCAR is in Richmond. If you go over to the YouTube channel, you can probably find a video there. I don't think there's a live show, but I think there's a VOD, or there will be tomorrow for the Richmond race. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. Thank you, producer Jacob, for staying an extra 5 minutes on Saturday. With that, gamers, good luck. Hit the